Okay, I'm going to try this one out for you guys. See what you think and let me know. This one is called Izuku, the Sea Dragon. Remember, I'm dyslexic, so I might say something wrong. I'm going to try and say this slowly. I don't really know this one by heart. So I hope you enjoy it. And let's begin. Chapter 1. Quirkless. Men aren't born equal. There will be some rising to fame and glory, undeserving and all of it, while there have hearts are pure, but they are left to die in the streets. That's what Izuku learned at a very young age. He learned not everyone was born equal, since he was already experienced being treated as such because of us in this world. You are just vulnerable as the powers that have been blessed upon you by the world, and then you are powerless. Then you will be shunned out of society and be left to fend for yourself. It all happened prior 8 years ago with the doctor visit. A visit that was going to change his life forever. It was the day that they were going to learn what their quirks was going to be. He was 4 years old, along with his twin sister, Izumi. I think that's right. They both shared a blonde hair that was from their father, Toroshi Yagi. Sorry, I can't say it. Toroshi Yagi, as known as All Might, and both had vibrant eyes that they matched their mother, Inko Atsuki, also known as Espa. Both their parents were heroes, and it was unknown by the children. It was early in the morning, and the twins were excited. They were jumping around and giggling, much to their parents' joy. They both always wanted to be heroes, and swore with each other that they both were going to be known as the best duo heroes ever. Now, kids, come on, eat your breakfast so that we could go to the doctor to have you both tested, okay? Inko told her kids, and they nodded. Aye, they both said in unison. They gulped and remaining the food on their plate. Now go change your clothes and meet me down here, okay? Hi, they both said again as they giggled their way up to their rooms. After a few minutes, the twins headed down the stairs where their mother was already waiting for them. She grabbed their hands with each of their arms as they exit the house. Their dad stayed behind since he said he was tired and needed rest. The children gave him a small peck on the cheeks, while Inko gave him a kiss on the lips. They then headed to their car and drove their way to the doctor's to have their quirks tested and to be amazed. The kids were discussing what quirk they were going to get along with way to the door, and Izuku happily listened to them talking. When they arrived, they sat down in the chairs in the hallways as they waited for their names to be called. The kids were playing with their toys that they brought along with them. They played heroes and villains like they always do. "Can we have Izuku and Izumi Yagi? The doctor would like to see you now," a nurse announced, as Izuku told her kids to pack their toys. They then scuttled their way to the door office and sat down across from him. The kids were being chatteredly as they no longer could wait. It means excited. "Hello, I will be your doctor for today. We will be doing some test to figure out your quirks. And after a few minutes I will have the results and would show it to you once it's finished. Can we do them now, please? I want to know my quirk," Izumi pleaded as Izuku nodded vigorously. The doctor and who laughed slightly at the both as their eagerness. "Do not worry, we will now go to the test room. So let's go," the doctor told them as he got up from the seats. The children cheered as they followed the doctor to the testing room. After a few minutes of testing, the children returned and the doctor said that he'll be back with the results. After a few minutes of waiting, the doctor came back with a frown on his face that made the family worry. "Is there a problem, doctor?" Izuku asked him with worried expression. "Well, I have good news and bad news. Which one would you like to have first?" the doctor asked as Izuku closed the bad news first. "It seems that Izuku will not be receiving a quirk. We took an X-ray and saw that he has a double joint in his pinky toe. This mostly meant that they will be quirkless." Izuku's heart shattered at the news as he dropped his All Might figure that he was holding onto. His tears started dripping down his eyes. The doctor looked at him with pity. The little boy turned for comfort to his mother as she had a disappointed look on her face that has never seen before. "What is the good news then, Doc?" Ku asked, completely ignoring her son that was crying silently. "Izumi there has a powerful quirk, stronger version of your quirk. She can move things with her mind using psychic energy and make powerful attacks with it. I'd say she'd make a fine hero," the doctor informed them. Smee had a bright smile on her face that contained that her brother was feeling at the moment. Izuku hugged her daughter tightly, praising her for her powerful quirk. Izuku looked disgusted distraught as he was being ignored by his mother. "I'm going to be a hero, Mummy," she said. Her mother nodded. "Yes, you are, Izumi. Thank you, Doctor. We'll be leaving now." She bowed and carried Izumi in her arms. Izuku just got down from his seat and took his All Might action figurine that he dropped from the ground. He bowed also to the Doctor as he looked at him with pity. He followed his sister and mother to the car as well. He was almost left behind by them. The car ride was all about Izumi having a powerful quirk, while Ku kept praising her over and over again. When they arrived, they were greeted by Toroshi. Sorry guys, I can't pronounce his name. And asked them how it all went. Well, Izuku was diagnosed quirkless. But our daughter, Izumi, she has a powerful version of my quirk, Inku said excitedly. Tosh, whatever his name. I'm going to say Tosh only. His face was stood with a smile that wouldn't fade away. He hugged me tightly. "My little girl's going to be a great hero, Eda," he said proudly. Izumi giggled in his arms. All the while Izuku watched them being happy. He just stood still near the door as he waited for someone to acknowledge him. His parents, but all they were too focused on was on Izumi. He started to cry silently as he walked past them and headed up to his room. No one realized that he was already gone. The next day happened, and the twins were at the playing with the other kids. It was mostly Izumi playing and Izuku sitting quietly in the sandpit. He was then approached by his sister with a bunch of her friends. "Hey, Sue, do you still want to be a hero?" she asked him. I do. I want to be a hero," he said sheepishly. He was then punched by his sister in the face and was soon followed by the rest of her friends. He was being beaten as a familiar voice screaming for them to stop. They looked to see a very angry blonde with his hands popped like firecrackers. "Izumi, why are you hurting Izuku?" he said as he pushed them all away from Izuku. "That loser wants to be a hero. He's quirkless and useless. He's a Deku," Izumi screamed as she turned away and left them. "Izuku, are you okay?" Kazumi asked the shaking boy. I just want to be a hero. Why does Izumi hate me, Kachan?" he said, tears falling in his face. "I don't know, Izu, but I promise you that I will protect you from them." Kaz, he declared with a determination as Izuku's eyes brightened up a bit. "You promise?" Izuku asked as he showed his pinky to him. "I promise," Kaz, said back. He grabbed his pinky with his and sealed their promise together. A promise sealed together. A promise that must keep. A promise that is soon to be broken. Chapter 2. Broken. It had been 8 years then, and Izuku's life had been a little living hell. He was suffered several depression that he kept to himself, and he also suffered social anxiety from all the harsh words being towards him by his classmates and teachers at school. Since he was 4, his family already forgot about him and no longer acknowledged him. He tried to win their favour by doing good at school and earning high grades, but they were always being termed with the teachers since they couldn't accept that quirkless students was better than the others with quirks. His grades were always low and his assignments were lost by the teachers when reality they were thrown then out on purpose. He was always left alone in the house, as his family would travel a lot and would do family bonding activities. He would always sit on his room and cry quietly and just accept the harsh reality. He learned how to cook and clean himself and learned how to take care of himself at such a young age. School wasn't any better. The students mocked him and his quietness. He would come home with bruises on his arms and body as he hid them from others, not like they care anyway. Professionally, were always being thrown at the poor boy as he tried his best to keep himself together when he already knew that he was broken a long time ago. His bullies were always being laid by his sister and her friends. The only one that stayed with him was his friend Karchan. He kept his promise with him in the park all those years ago and protected him as best he can. He defended off the bullies and would sometimes admit himself fist aid at his friend's wounds. Izuku appreciated him and for the things he did, but he knew deep down that was only out of pity. They were now finishing elementary school and were soon heading to middle school. Izuku is now 12 and was not in a happy place. He was far from it. It was the end of the day and he was about to leave when his sister and bully showed up him at his seat. He looked at them with dead eyes that sparked no emotion. It was unsettling to see, but didn't stop Izumi from hurting him at all. "Hey, Deku," she called out to him mockingly. "It's time for another round of your beatings today. Are you ready?" she said to him as a grin formed on her face. He didn't reply and just stared off place. "You little shit, ignoring me? Are we, Deku?" She then made him float with her quirk and threw him to the wall. The others soon followed and Izuku took the breathing out of them. They stopped after 10 minutes and he had bruises and blood dripping down his head. They laughed at the pity display. They left him alone in the classroom. He didn't yell, scream, or even cry during the beating down. He was all used to it, and now seemed to lack emotion that most humans precede. He left the classroom and the school was almost being burned as students left. He was about to return to the gate when he heard a familiar voice from behind the tree. He took a look to see Kazuki and Izumi talking to each other. He came closer and eavesdropped curiously of what they were talking about. Kazuki, why are you still hanging out with that nerd, huh? Izumi asked him. Izuku had his eyes widened, but kept silent. He continued to listen to them. Why, Izumi? Can't you just hang out with him? I mean, like, he's already pitiful. Pitiful and pathetic, right? I'll just hang out with him and ditch him when we go to middle school, he said. Izuku's wide eyes soon narrowed down and held his head down. He knew it. He knew that Kazuki was just with him out of pity. He wished he was wrong, but it proved he was right. He broke his promise 8 years ago. It hurt him. Not physically, but emotionally, which was far more worse since he started growing feelings for him. He walked away slowly and headed home with tears streaming his face. Kazuki saw him and he had eyes widened. He fucked up. He didn't know that Izuku was listening to them, and he heard every word he said. He didn't mean it, but to say it since Izumi was with him, and if he didn't say those words to her, then she will hurt Izuku even more than she used to. He couldn't chase after him and apologize because Izumi was still there talking to him. He promised himself to explain everything tomorrow. Izuku arrived home and saw the empty house. He felt a wave of loneliness as he entered. He walked up to his room, laid on his bed, sobbing. He welled tears as he learned that his best friend and crush has been lying to him for years. He felt all hope and happiness that he had a little of came crashing down. He stood up and went to the bathroom. He took the razor and started cutting himself. 1 cut, 2 cuts, 3 cuts, until the cuts drove down, disgrated his now bloody arm. He did it with no emotion and left the blood dripping down as he sat down on his butt on the floor. He then wrapped himself with bandages and went back to bed asleep. His depression got worse. The next day came. The world around him gloomy, almost as if someone died, which was true, since the part of Izuku died the day before. He came to school, and everyone avoided him like they always do. The whole day, Izuku avoided Kazuki as he tried to explain himself to what happened yesterday. He didn't give him a chance, as he avoided him at all costs. The day ended, and he was about to leave when Izumi and her gang showed up again in front of his desk. "Hey Deku, why do you look gloomy? Finally lost the will to live? If you really want to have a quirk, I have an idea," she said. Izuku looked at her to listen. "You take a swan dive off the roof and pray that you'll get a quirk in your next life," she said as she started laughing. The others laughed as well. They stopped when they saw Izuku smiling. I'll take that note of that. It's me. Thanks for the advice," he said, smiling. It was the first time they saw him smile, and they all were disrupted by it. I think that's enough. I know what it means. Sorry, guys. Does it say what it is? Damn it. Sorry, guys. Being weird. Thrilled by it. They then saw him leave the room. Smee and her friends stood still, thinking about what he said and how he thanked Smee for the advice. Izumi was about to leave, though the gates was when Kazuki called for him. "Izuku, please listen to me. I need to explain what happened yesterday," he said as he chased after the boy. Izuku listened and continued. Didn't listen and continued to walk away. "Please, Izuku, I need you to listen to me," he said, grabbing Izuku's wrist, and immediately welt in pain. Kazuki took notice of this and looked to see his arms were covered in bandages and in seeped blood. He looked horrid. "Izuku, what happened to your arm? We need to go to hospital. We need to make sure you're..." "I'm fine." What do you care?" Izuku screamed out, cutting Kazuki off. "No one cares about me. So why would you care? When you don't even care about myself, when I don't even care about myself at all. I just want you to be okay, Izuku. I haven't been okay since I was 4. Don't you know how hard it is to keep smiling and keep thinking positively when I'm reminded of how pathetic and worthless I am every day? I try being happy and being okay, but nothing works. Voices keep telling me of how worthless and how much burden I truly am. And don't tell me you care, because I know you just do it what you do with me out of pity. Now leave me alone. I don't want to see you anymore, Kazuki Bakugo." He then left as he ran back home with tears in his eyes. Kazuki stayed silent and let what he said sink in his mind. He started crying as well and blamed himself for tipping Izuku off the edge. He couldn't do anything anymore, as Izuku no longer wants to see him. He called him by his real name, and nor his nickname like he always calls him. His name that came out of Izuku's mouth struck pure blood, poor blood, blonde's heart. The poor blonde's heart, sorry. When Izuku arrived home, he went immediately up to his room and started packing clothes and stuffed them in his bag. He then took a piece of paper and pen. He started writing a letter to his family and Kazuki that was only filled with sadness and anger. As he wrote all his feelings he had bottled up inside, he took the first letter with him and left his home, never to return again. He ran to the forest that was near their home. He already found a place where he wants to end it all. Alright, that's me giving that a go. I hope I'm clear. If I'm not, I'm sorry. Remember, I'm dyslexic, so I might say something wrong.